Heading into Wisconsin's next legislative session, Representative Robin Vos will be taking the reins as Assembly Speaker. He says the state is starting the new session from a good position.
When I look at where we are as a state, I was elected in 2004. My first session was in 2005. And I think back to all the things that I've gotten to be a part of, balanced budgets, issues that I had campaigned on. And there is nothing that I am more proud of than the fact that we have Act 10 on the books today. It saved billions of dollars for schools. It allowed us to have almost no layoffs from the districts that chose to take advantage of where we are. It's created a government that's running better. It's allowed us to have increased customer service. It'll allow us to have more accountability for parents. In almost every measurement that you can possibly put forward, yes, did anybody like to take a reduction in their pay? Of course not. I took the same reduction as every other person did in the state. But I know that sometimes you have to take tough medicine early in order to cure what ails the patient. And that's where we are. I think now we're seeing a patient under recovery. The state's growing again. Our revenues are returning. We're going to have money to reinvest in schools and all of our priorities. That wouldn't have happened if we hadn't done Act 10. We would have been in the same constant cutting mode that many states are in.
Vos's #1 priority for the session will be reforming the tax code, with a tax cut for middle-class families.
We looked at some national studies, and it just disappointed me when you think of how complex our tax code is. When you live in Wisconsin, you don't compare it to other states. You just think this is the way income taxes are. Our income tax code, according to the national experts, is one of the most complicated state forms that there is. There are 56 different credits that you can qualify for, most of which aren't even on the tax form. So they don't even have the intention of creating the economic activity that we had hoped for. It's just about a politician passing a bill for a special interest group. And that's what we don't want in our tax code. What also frustrates me is we have seen that I think it's almost 50 to 60% of people who are on the low income scale nationwide have to hire a tax preparer. Why, if you are poor, should you have to pay an accountant to fill out your taxes and take even more money out of your paycheck? So knowing our tax form is one of the most complicated, it would make sense that our numbers are similar in Wisconsin. We don't have a specific study, but it makes sense to extrapolate that out. So I'd also like to make our tax form simpler so people don't need to pay an accountant and waste a couple $100 filling out their tax form to either get a refund or to basically pay in no tax because they're, as you had said, very friendly to those who are on the low income side.
Another priority for Vos could prove to be a monumental task. He wants the legislature to review every single regulation on the books and streamline the bureaucracy. He wants the legislature to begin this process in February, knowing it could take years to complete.
#2 priority is regulatory reform. Whenever the legislature passes a bill, and this is Republicans or Democrats for the past 40 years, if they didn't know the details or weren't able to work those out or it was just too complicated to put into the statutes, they empower the bureaucracy to write rules that come back to us for review. But many times they go into law without knowing the consequences and they're never reviewed. So for the first time in probably 2 or 3 generations, we are going to have a top to bottom review of every single regulation that's put into effect. There are 1,768 different chapters in the administrative code, and each of those has rules underneath it that could be a half a page long to 200. So we're going to have every single committee involved. We're going to ask the public, people who are impacted by the rules, to give us their ideas, to review the rules, and just ask a couple simple questions. Does it protect the public? If it doesn't protect the public, why is it there? And if it makes it more expensive to live in Wisconsin or create jobs, how can we get rid of it? And I think that's going to be a very intensive effort that hopefully will bear a lot of fruit toward our goal of creating private sector jobs.
On top of all that, Vos has 2 other priorities for the next session: pass a mining bill and reform education. With the Republican governor and Republicans controlling both chambers of the legislature, Vos is in a good position to take on this ambitious agenda. For the MacIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.